You're walking down a street. Nothing unusual is happening. People are talking. Cars are passing. Someone is checking their phone. Then suddenly you're aware of yourself, the way you're walking, the way your arms move, the expression on your face. For a moment, it feels as if everyone can see every detail. Maybe your shirt doesn't look right. Maybe your hair looks strange. Maybe you're walking awkwardly, and the stranger passing by probably noticed. At least that's what your brain tells you. But here's the strange part. Most of those people aren't thinking about you at all. In fact, many of them are worrying about the exact same thing. They're wondering whether you're noticing them. So why does it feel so real? Why do humans so often feel like they're standing in the center of an invisible spotlight? And why does this feeling sometimes follow us throughout our entire lives? The answer reveals something surprising about the human mind, because the feeling that everyone is watching you isn't a flaw, it's a side effect of how human consciousness works. Think back to the last time you made a small mistake in public. Maybe you stumbled over a word, maybe you tripped while walking, maybe you waved at someone who wasn't actually waving at you. Moments like these can feel enormous. Your heart speeds up, your face gets warm, and for a brief moment it seems as though everyone around you witnessed the disaster. Hours later, you're still thinking about it. Sometimes, days later. Yet if the same thing happened to a stranger, would you remember it tomorrow? Probably not. You might notice it. You might even smile, but within minutes the memory disappears. Why do humans want what they can't have? Imagine a child playing with a toy. The toy sits unnoticed on the floor for hours. Nobody touches it. Nobody wants it. Nobody even looks at it. Then another child picks it up, and suddenly it's the most important toy in the world. Now the first child desperately wants it back. And that's where things start to get interesting. Imagine watching a movie through a camera attached to one character's head. You see everything they see, you hear everything they hear. You know every fear, doubt, and emotion they're experiencing. Eventually, that character begins to feel incredibly important, not because they actually are, but because they're the only person you can fully observe. Your brain operates in a similar way. You have constant access to your own thoughts. You don't have access to anyone else's. As a result, your mind naturally places itself at the center of the social world. This creates a powerful illusion because you're so aware of yourself, you assume other people are equally aware of you, but they aren't. They're busy monitoring themselves, their appearance, their mistakes, their insecurities, their worries, their future, their past. The same mental spotlight that shines on you is shining on them too, and that's the irony. Everyone feels like they're being watched because everyone is too busy watching themselves. But there's another reason this feeling exists, and it goes much deeper than simple self-awareness. Long before social media, long before cities, long before modern civilization, humans lived in small groups. Survival depended heavily on social acceptance. Being rejected by your tribe wasn't merely uncomfortable. It could be dangerous. A person who lost the trust of the group might lose protection, resources, and support. For our ancestors, social mistakes mattered. Being judged mattered, reputation mattered, and because of that, evolution rewarded brains that paid close attention to social signals. Who likes me? Who dislikes me? Did I say something wrong? Do I belong here? These questions helped humans survive. The problem is that the modern world is very different. Today, you might walk past hundreds of strangers in a single day, yet your brain still treats social evaluation as something incredibly important. It hasn't fully adapted to the fact that most people you encounter will never think about you again. Your ancient social alarm system is operating in a world it was never designed for. And sometimes it becomes overly sensitive. A glance feels like judgment. Silence feels like criticism. A neutral expression feels like disapproval, not because those things are true, but because your brain would rather overestimate social threats than ignore them. From an evolutionary perspective, being overly cautious was often safer than being unaware. Here's where things become even stranger. Sometimes people really are looking at you, but not for the reasons you think. Most people assume others are constantly searching for flaws, judging their appearance, evaluating their behavior, waiting for mistakes. But human attention doesn't work like that. People notice what is unusual, what is surprising, what is relevant to them, and then their attention quickly moves on. Think about how many faces you've seen in the last month. Hundreds, thousands. How many do you remember? Very few. Most people process strangers the same way. You enter their awareness briefly, then disappear. In other words, even when people notice you, you're usually far less important in their minds than you imagine. Your brain often fills in the rest of the story. A stranger looks in your direction. Your mind assumes they're judging you. Someone laughs nearby. Your mind wonders if they're laughing at you. A group starts talking. Your brain asks whether you're the topic. But most of the time, these stories exist only inside your head, and that realization can be surprisingly freeing. This feeling reaches far beyond awkward moments. It influences how people dress, how they speak, how they post online, how they pursue goals, and sometimes how they limit themselves. Many dreams are abandoned before they even begin, not because people lack talent, not because opportunities don't exist, but because they imagine an audience that isn't really there. They imagine criticism, mockery, judgment, failure in front of everyone. Yet when you look closely, most people aren't paying nearly as much attention as we think. The audience often exists inside our imagination. This doesn't mean human opinions don't matter. They do. We're social creatures. Connection is important, belonging matters, but there is a difference between healthy awareness and imagined scrutiny. One helps us navigate society, the other traps us inside our own self-consciousness. And once you recognize that difference, something changes. You begin to notice how many people are fighting the same invisible battle. The confident person, the successful person, the attractive person, the person who seems completely comfortable. Many of them are wondering what others think too. Because this feeling is not a sign of weakness. It's a feature of being human. At its core, the fear of being watched is really something deeper. It's the fear of being seen, not physically. Psychologically, humans want acceptance. We want belonging. We want connection. But these desires come with vulnerability. The moment another person truly sees us, there is always the possibility of judgment. And so the mind becomes cautious. It scans for danger. It searches for signs of rejection. It imagines criticism before criticism ever arrives. Yet the same ability that creates insecurity also makes relationships possible, because caring about other people's opinions is connected to our ability to care about other people. The goal isn't to stop caring completely. The goal is to recognize when the mind is exaggerating the importance of its audience. Most people are not studying your every move. They're living their own lives, worrying about their own mistakes, fighting their own insecurities, trying to understand themselves just as you're trying to understand yourself. The next time you feel like everyone is watching you, pause for a moment, look around. Every person you see is carrying a private world inside their mind, a world full of memories, fears, plans, regrets, hopes, and unanswered questions. And inside those worlds, they are usually thinking far less about you than you imagine. Perhaps the strange truth is this: the reason it feels like everyone is watching you is because you're the only person you've been watching your entire life.